Hey everyone, welcome back to Play Casket with your co-host, Parak the Goblin, and...
Ghost, your co-host.
Yes, co-host. We're gonna just roll with that.
Okay.
Anyway, we we have had a lot of time to do weird stuff. Since we usually do some spooky little specials, we didn't quite have some time to do it this year. We're gonna go ahead and just do a quick one. More talking about like indie scenes, and we've talked a lot about like promoting indies and stuff like that before. I just think what we should probably just literally like put our money where our mouth is and actually talk indie, like actual indie games themselves.
Yep. So you're in for a treat.
So we've talked. So instead of just talking about indie games and then poo-pooing on all the AAAs and then never talk about indies, this is basically us saying we're going to talk about indies in a good light. Okay, we're going to talk about spooky horror, just all around, just spooky Halloween games, basically games that you can play that are indie and they're Halloween
done by
indies.
It's good.
Yeah, done by indies. And since indies weren't much around for until recently, the term classic, I will say, will be used very loosely in this special. All right,
I guess kind of like the rough part is that now that we don't have now that they don't have like a certain generation to hold themselves to, at least for me personally, it feels like indies are kind of like a blur now. Because
it really is, because you don't really know when. And then on top of that, you also got like early access, and you got some people talking about like games like they're finished, but they're like unfinished until you finally see it sometime. Like, oh yeah, I remember my friend talking about this game, and it's like now fully finished.
Yeah.
And then you're like, he never told me about this.
Yeah.
It's because he probably played the earlier version, but got like really pumped about it and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that kind of blurs that line. There's a lot of stuff, but the way I see it is just, I would say classics because I'll say about older than 5 years ish.
Okay.
Because indies weren't around for that long in the grand scheme of things, but they used to do a lot of like licensed product and stuff like that. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, and we're going to allow one to be that way in our lists. But let's talk about some classic ones right now. Let's stop beating around the bush and the weird polygonal bush, and talk about some classics.
Okay.
So why don't you go ahead and talk about one of yours first?
I don't know. I'll let you carry this one, mostly because I don't have anything that goes back that far. I do have stuff that's more recent.
How dare you? All right, I will. I do have. Okay. I played. Okay, so I played. For a lot of my classic games were not really horror or even like spooky in any way, shape, or form. Like I didn't really have those. I had some like oddball, wacky games and stuff, but that nothing in like very intense, except for one game that I just recently played. And when I say I recently played, I mean I at least recently played it in the like last 4 years. Okay, it's older than that. But like it's one of those games that like I heard people like, you need to play this. This is actually a pretty messed up game. So I played it. It is a messed up game, and I'm gonna start out and just say it. It's Soma. Okay, for some of you already know why I said that, because there's some things you're not allowed to really say because it will like spoil the actual impact of what that game is, especially near the ending. Like it's like a weird social commentary game without being a social commentary game. It's like a game that is a survival horror game. You basically start off with this dude who's getting in his brain check, and then he comes back, his consciousness comes back in some kind of underwater facility that apparently a comet hit and wiped out most of humanity. And you start noticing a lot of the remaining scientists are using this weird goo that keeps them alive, even long after they should be dead.
Yeah.
Like it's pumping, it's keeping their brains alive, they're being conscious, they're talking to you, they're having conversations, like it's fucked up, right? And over time you discover why that's fucked up, in more ways, and it's like forces you to make some really weird and wild decisions that at first you're like, wow, that was actually kind of fucked up, now I feel sad. But then when you start looking at what happens and you discover why you're there, you start freaking out, like in your head, like it literally questions the human consciousness mind.
Okay.
Like it really like challenges that type of idea, and I wish I could desperately say more about it without spoiling a lot of it. It just, like, a lot of the people who've played Soma were like are probably just nodding their heads like, yeah, you should probably shut the up right now. Like, just do it right now, just stop. But for any of you who love like a psychological style horror experience, Soma is like, people keep saying it's overhyped, but literally, like, when you're thinking about it in a sense of a social, like a psychological horror, like, no one has done it better yet. No one. Okay. They set a bar, and they set that motherfucker very, very high. It blows the mind. Okay. Especially when you start going into it and like really analyzing what's taking place. And especially like when I first played it, I didn't like over analyze it and stuff. I was just experiencing it. And it wasn't until I beat the game, when I watched something else that broke down the social barriers about why that's such a well developed game, that I didn't just I looked back and I was like, oh god, it was that type of level. Okay. I recommend everyone to play Soma at some time, and just it's a horror game, and it's a wild, like it's spooky in a way because it really does make you kind of question reality. You know, it messes with you.
Dang, I gotta put that on my list then. Yeah. I'm curious now.
Yeah, you should definitely do that.
Let's see what else. I haven't played it, but Amnesia is still pretty. Came out in 2010. That's a while.
Say Amnesia. I would say Amnesia is. I would say a classic, a very classic. It's almost. It's over 10 years ago. Yeah. Oh shit! We're having stuff falling apart now.
Halloween's getting close.
I know.
The spirits are restless.
You're one of them.
I am restless. But I haven't played it yet. But that game looks terrifying.
Amnesia. Oh yeah. So I've played Amnesia too. So I don't want to take much on that. But go ahead and tell your stuff, and I'll kind of give you a hint as to what you probably should experience when you go into it.
Okay. So at least something's always chasing you. Is there combat in there? Can you actually fight?
No.
Fight back? Okay. So there's this creature that's like chasing you, and the thing is that you can't look at it because you'll go insane, and then it'll kill your character. So you get a few glimpses of this thing, and you gotta like not look at it as you run away in terror. And yeah, that's freaking terrifying.
So when you're in darkness, your insanity goes up.
Yeah.
When you look at him, your insanity goes up. It cannot chase you into it. It can't find you in darkness, but your insanity goes up. But you can go into the light where you can start regaining your sanity, but it can see you.
Yeah.
So the game is literally designed not to win.
Oh, okay.
You do not play it to win.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Don't try to play that game to win. It's definitely one of those horror experiences that you just feel like it's designed to make you feel
as long as you can.
Yeah, it's designed to make you kind of feel helpless.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those type of games.
What? That doesn't sound fun then.
Well, you slowly piece together a story and stuff with it too.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So there is some stuff that's going on in it. Later Amnesia games do have more of a story that's directly controlled by you.
Okay.
But the same mentalities in the same situations kind of apply to their mechanics as well.
Okay.
But I don't think it has the same impact as the first one, because this first one was such an abstract idea that allowed a lot of people to kind of make their own monster.
Okay.
in that aspect.
Because I do have it in my library. I haven't touched it in ever since I bought it. And then, oh, this is a cool game. On to the next.
Yeah, it's definitely one that, honestly, I think we should record you playing for the first time.
Oh, God, okay.
Do it. Just film the entire time, and we'll just cut out all the highlights, and we'll poke fun at you. What are you going to do? Die again?
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay.
I'm used to it.
But you have practice?
Elden Ring, man.
Oh, okay. That's fair. That type of practice. Yeah. Right. Anyway. Yeah, no. Amnesia's a good one for one of those. Like,
okay.
It's definitely one of the ones. I still think it's a little overhyped because there's a lot of people who love that series.
Yeah.
I think it's a good series.
Oh, okay.
I do not think it's a bad series. I do not hate it because it has a huge popularity. I think it's overblown. But it's definitely, I still think it's a good experience.
Okay.
Pardon me. But I do think that yeah, people should just try it out. But I don't think it's like the de facto of how horror should be experienced. I think there's a lot of ways that we have yet begin to understand for experiences of horror. You know, that honestly, I think Eternal Darkness and just recently what I mentioned, Soma, kind of like really messed with that. Observer did it as pretty well too. Just that messed with more of what horror really means instead of just big monster grr. You know, like it's different. And and I think we're still learning how to do that in video games.
Yeah.
So, but there is some more recent stuff that's came out too.
Yeah.
Do you have a couple? You have a list there.
Yeah.
I see. So why don't you go ahead and start out with your list? I'm gonna keep mine a little short and sweet to just make up for that.
Okay. Nightmare of Decay. I just picked it up recently. I was just looking for like good first-person shooters, and they had a demo. I played it, and it's basically Resident Evil 1 in first person. Not entirely Resident Evil 1, but it scratches that itch though of just like that weird PS1 style,
the weird campiness or something.
Yeah, it's more goofy than anything too, because there's a lot of little things in there that just it makes you chuckle because you're like, I get that reference because it's supposed to be scary horror, but you're like, okay, that's hilarious. But it's campy, it's fun. It's not entirely creepy, but at the same time, it still gives you that really weird,
like spook vibes or something.
Yeah, that you're just alone in this creepy mansion all by yourself. Yeah.
And I'll add to that too. One of the more recent ones I played, it's a spooky game, but it's not scary. It's not a horror game. It's more Halloween themed than anything, but it's not like directly Halloween themed. It's an adventure platformer title that's very similar to how Sly Cooper, like the first two Sly Coopers, and more like Crash Bandicoot used to play. And it's called Pumpkin Jack. It's basically Halloween Crash Bandicoot, basically. You earn a bunch of earn a bunch of different weapons that you learn, like level up and power up throughout each level. You find some hidden crow skulls everywhere, so there's some little hidden things out there for you to track down. And it has a lot of like old nostalgic vibes for like a platformer of that era. But it was released maybe about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
It was only made by one person too, so it blows my mind how great this game is. Actually, it's not, and I'm not saying this as in, oh, you should try it out, we can give him a chance and all. It's actually really good.
Okay.
It's genuinely really good. Okay, I believe it's worth the full price of, I think it was $15. I think it's worth the $15. It's just $15.
Yeah,
but it does go on sale quite often, and it's been on sale during the Halloween season.
Yeah,
quite often.
Okay.
And then to add to it, because of that, I'm going to segue into another one that is a free-to-play game. It is a platformer similar to Pumpkin Jack, and it is, and it's free. It's legitimately and 100% free. It's a short game called FIFO's Night. It's more of a like an old Mario 64 style platformer as opposed to a Crash Bandicoot one.
Mm-hmm.
And you just play a ghost. And it was made by a team that was just graduating school. That's why it's free. It wasn't a team. It wasn't a like company team or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
It was just a group of people did a group project as their final, and this is their end result. It's a good game. And it's free, so you don't lose anything.
Yeah. Help a little guy out.
So give those a try. If you don't want to do the horror stuff, just give those a try, and enjoy some spooky stuff. That's in a fun way.
Yeah.
So what about you? What about more recent stuff you want to go ahed and add? Because I know that one isn't the only thing on your list.
GTFO. That's oh my god, I love the game so much. Like, with this, so they're out of beta now, and I think 1.0 is officially out. There is a more coherent storyline, but it's such a freaky game, mostly because every encounter that you do get into is extremely tense. It's not very like. You do have to use a lot of stealth, and I've seen people who are just so efficient at it though. So they kind of like run circles around us if you really know how to play. But if you're pretty new at it, it's tense as hell because the creatures, they light up when they're listening, and when they're not listening, you could move. So you have to like walk up to them, and then when they glow, you have to stop. And then when they're not listening, you walk up to them. And then you can
try like a red light, green light?
Yeah, basically, to get closer to them. And once you're close enough, you can kill them. But there's like, sometimes you run into stuff to where you're like, okay, we can't stealth this, so we're going to kill everything. So you have to prep up and then engage. And it's tense as hell, though, because you're just like, okay, I got it. Like, okay, I killed it. And then you get caught, and you're like, oh, crap. Because every encounter can just kill you. Unless you're, like, I've seen people who are just extremely good at it, so. But.
It blows my mind how efficient some people are with video games sometimes. Like, it's like, people just like, look, if you just do this and this and this, the pathing of this AI will actually do this and this and this, and it will just lock them out, so you just do this and this and this. I'm like, how the fuck do you even know that? You haven't even touched it.
Have you seen weapon swapping in Doom?
Yeah. Like the stuff like that. I'm like, how? What?
Yeah.
What? How? What made you think that? Like, there's okay. There's a speed run for, I think it's Majora's Mask. That it's a speed run where you collect the least amount of items, and it's the longest speed running because the animation of when you get something, it doesn't have a full animation loop, so it keeps knocking you slightly back every time. So you have to get an item with the camera panned a certain way, so Link would face you, is like against the grate or something, and then slowly move through the grate, and then you just fall through and like
you can finish
beat the game with the least amount of items possible.
No, okay.
It's who the hell thought that? Like who sat there and was like, you know what? This is through 2 frames too quick. And if I recall, it looks like my character moved. Like, who discovered that to begin with? You know what I mean?
Everybody talking.
Like, how the hell? Well, yeah, but who noticed it? That's what I want to know. I want to know who's like, this made me go through a gate.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Because I've seen, like, in GTFO, there's these, what is it, sentries? So they patrol in a certain order, and then their feelers come out, and then if they touch you, they explode, and it summons a bunch of things from all over the level.
Whoa.
So, I've seen people who are just like, oh yeah, they're no problem. They charge up, they run to it, and they hit it. And I was like, what the
Who the hell knew that?
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things. Like, people who just play so efficiently. I've seen, like, hammers only, no alerts. And they're just, like, sprinting, stop, kill, and then sprint, and then they get to the end. I'm like, god damn. Like, we could barely make it pass through 1-C or something like that, whatever. But it's super intense because I was like, this isn't really scary, but when you're just like it's there's no music in that game too, so it's just like
you're just dealing with the atmosphere.
You hear your character breathing, and you hear like, all right, like sleepers, be quiet, and then like you hear your character moving, walking. You charge up, and when you hit it, you hear the monster scream before they die, and then that's it. Like, it's so quiet. But when you do get into combat, you hear the music pick up, and then when the music ends, you're like, okay, everything's quiet down, and then you just hear everybody breathing again. It's such a creepy game, but it's tense as hell though. It's fun.
I'll allow that.
It's fun though.
Well, I don't know if there's many recent ones that I played that were very spooky, outside the ones I'd already list. But probably talk about some future games too. There's stuff that's out there that people are working on. Might be a little while out there. Might be forever and a day. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But is there a couple that I feel like you should start? Is there a couple that you are looking forward to that look promising to you?
Other than AAAs, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, unfortunately. But
shame on you. This is an indie thing. You were supposed to be rehearsed on this. How dare you? But no, I do got a couple. So obviously we've talked about my my fandom with Stunlock Studios, right? The guys who made Battlerite originally made the Bloodline Champions. So Battlerite's like a spiritual successor to it. They made the Dead Island Epidemic game for the Dead Island team and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In between those two, try to get some money and stuff.
Yeah.
And now they're making on a game based on vampires called V Rising. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a isometric dungeon crawler, procedurally generated game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You play as a vampire, use your vampire skills to kill some vampire stuff, and you kind of build your own little vampire base, and you recruit people and all that stuff. And it has a very dark gothic theme to it, very creepy, very, like, I wouldn't say it's a horror game and it's like puts you on edge, but I do think it's a game that, like, it's really fitting. Like the atmosphere, like, there's some vampire games that just don't fit very well with the Halloween theme. Blood Rain being one of them, even though we streamed it. It just doesn't work the same way, you know? But there is ones out there that look like they would fit. And V Rising definitely looks like a possible one to be up there.
Okay.
And I feel like it scratches the itch that there was another game out there that came out with Shiro Games, but it required it required friends to play together as an isometric one, so I think it kind of killed itself that way.
Okay.
But V Rising seems like you could play it by yourself as well as others, and just kind of build your base up. Very gothic, very old and old-timey and stuff. It looks good.
Okay.
I'm excited about that. I do have another one, and I don't know when this game will come out. The only thing that we have right now is, I think it's a solo dev on Twitter just piecing together his own little spooky game. It's kind of like a Pokemon Snap with ghosts or yokai. And
ooh, okay, that does sound cool actually.
It's called Photogeist. And he has a few videos out. He has a couple things out that kind of is testing some stuff. And right now it's still a small sandbox game that he's doing. So who knows how much it's actually going to be. Who knows the depth the game's going to actually be. Who knows if he's going to go for Kickstarter for a really fully fleshed out game. Maybe he might just make this one level and you just play with it. The possibility for him is endless.
Okay.
And I think it's really great, honestly. The potential is there. It is just, like I said, it is a solo dude developing stuff. I think he might have some help with our assets. I don't know. I haven't really talked to him directly. It's just one of the things I've been watching because I kind of like the style. There's this weird stop motion animation he's using that just caught my eye once. And it's definitely kind of like, give him a follow. He probably has more followers than anybody who would like listen to us. would ever follow him. They're like, oh, 3 more followers, and it's just from us, but like that's just a normal day for him.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it's worth checking out.
Okay.
And it's worth kind of giving him some support, kind of tell him he's doing a really good job and stuff, and kind of give him the encouragement. I think it's one of those games that I feel like if he is given the power and the opportunity to really do something good with it, he can. The vision is insurmountable. Like, I love the vision. It kind of it's like a slower paced version of what I thought the new Pokemon Snap would have been. Free roam, go places, and track it down. But at this point in time, I thought it was going to just be on the 3DS.
Yeah.
I didn't know of the Switch one when I was always thinking about this idea.
Okay.
But it's more yokai. His style is very unique. I think it's really cool. For everyone who's watching, just feel free to drop in and, show some support to the dude. I think he really deserves it.
Yeah.
So, anything else that you want to go ahead and add some as far as final words for this special that we have? Because it's a small special. We apologize. Everything's getting back on track. We've been moving stuff. We've been experimenting with stuff. We've been trying streaming. We're a little still rocky with that, but I think we're doing well.
Yeah.
And we're doing some more communication. We're doing some more work, and we're sorry that we didn't get the huge Halloween event special like we wanted to do, but we should hopefully make up for it for our holiday specials here in a few months. So, thank you guys all for listening. If you like our content, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. And
we will see you on the other side.
Hey everyone, this is Paraka.
And Ghost.
I would like to say thank you for listening to our podcast.
If you like our content, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe and share our video with your friends.
You can also follow and support us on other social media such as Minds and Rumble. Links in the description below.